Alright guys, another day, another strength, and today we're going to be talking about designing your own program as an advanced lifter. So let's get right into it. Get questions about this all the time, right? Let's go over the basics first. So two things, stress recovery adaptation, aka SRA, and specificity, aka the SAID principle, right? So stress recovery adaptation, pretty straightforward, talked about this a million times. You got to stress yourself, you got to recover from the stress so that you can adapt to the stress. Simply put, you got to lift weights, then you got to recover from lifting the weights, and then you adapt by getting stronger or bigger, whatever you want to happen, right? Specificity slash SAID principle means that you have to do the thing that you want to get better at. So for example, if you want bigger biceps, you have to do some kind of elbow flexion in order to get your biceps bigger, right? So yeah, advanced programming 101, number one, the main thing is that you have to define a goal or multiple goals. You need to be realistic about those things. So the program is going to revolve around this goal or these goals, and everything is going to serve these goals, right? So you can have multiple goals as long as they don't compete. So for example, you could be like, I want to have the strongest deadlift possible, and then if you want to choose a different goal, maybe you should say like, I want to have the biggest calves possible as well. So those are two that are pretty attainable at the same time, right? You might not want to choose to have the strongest deadlift possible and then also have the fastest marathon time possible at the same time. Because those are competing adaptations. It's gonna be tough to get both of those at once, right? So just be realistic if you do choose those two goals and realize that you're not gonna maximize either one. Each goal comes with a different skill point cost. So in that analogy, like the deadlift and running a marathon, that requires a lot of effort and a lot of recovery resources. Whereas like training your calves just doesn't, you can train them multiple times a week. And you can do other things in conjunction with that. You don't have to just focus on training your calves. And then goals change over time, so the program has to change, right? The only thing that stays the same is that things change, as the old guys at the gym like to tell me. So keep that in mind. You're gonna change goals, you're gonna change your program. Don't get locked into just doing one thing all the time and be like, this is my forever program, this is it, right? That's not a real thing. Things are gonna have to change over time. So anyways, let's get into a sample program. And I'm going to use basically the program that I'm using right now with some tweaks. This is like the skeleton of that program, which I've tweaked for myself. So you can take this skeleton program and tweak it for yourself if you're interested, right? If these are your goals. So the goal is to lose as much fat as possible while maintaining as much muscle as possible, right? Totally reasonable, happens all the time. So a few things to consider within that. We have, from the stress recovery adaptation standpoint, the recovery is going to be limited due to caloric restriction, right? I'm eating less, I'm not going to recover as well. So I need to take that into account. So I'll probably just be training each muscle group 1 to 2 times a week. And there may be some changes to that, but that's the general rule. And then as far as the muscle groups go, from the specificity standpoint, like I was saying earlier, I want to train every single muscle that I want to keep, essentially. So if I'm not going to train something, I should expect that it's going to shrink or decrease in performance or size or something like that throughout the course of the diet. So I want to train as many muscle groups as possible while I'm doing this. So starting with the big stuff, there's the push muscles, the pull muscles, and the legs. So that includes like your horizontal and vertical presses, horizontal and vertical pulls, your squats, your hinges being deadlifts and good mornings. And then beyond that, if you want any of the smaller muscles as well, like forearms, calves, biceps, triceps, you got to include movement patterns that train those muscles. So yeah, let's get into some of those movement patterns and some of those muscles. I have laid out a 4-day split, which is what I like to train with. And then I've kind of allocated and assorted these different movement patterns into different days. So let's start with Monday, Manic Monday, classic day of the week. We got a horizontal press first. So this could be a bench press or any variation of the bench press. That's what I like to use. Followed by a horizontal pull, which is generally some kind of bent over row. Could also be like a chest supported or a seal row if you have that equipment. I don't. You could do an incline press for the next movement, followed by a decline pull, which is really just like an upright row or a face pull. And then you have some kind of overhead extension, or just extension in general actually, for the tricep. Doesn't have to be overhead. But yeah. So the way that you can structure the workout is, if you want to save time, you can even superset. So you could do like your horizontal press, then do your horizontal pull. Then you could superset your incline press with your decline pull, and then do your tricep extensions at the end. And then if you feel the need to train other small muscles more than once a week, you can do that by adding them after the extensions. But the way I like to structure it is that the horizontal press is the heaviest movement of the day. So that might be something in the like 5 to 10 rep range. And then the horizontal pull might be the same, or I might do like, 8 to 12 or 10 to 15, depending on what my vertical pull is later in the week. I'll usually have one of them heavier, one of them lighter. And you'll see that's kind of a pattern in this program. And then because the horizontal press is heavier, the incline press is gonna be lighter. So either 8 to 12 or 10 to 15. And if I'm using a barbell for the horizontal press, I'll probably use dumbbells for the incline press. And then if you were to continue running this program beyond the length of a diet, so this is probably not gonna happen during the length of this diet, but beyond the diet, if you kept running this sort of thing, if you started to stall on your horizontal press, then what you could do is just flip that with the incline press. So now your incline press becomes a heavier barbell-based version, and the horizontal press becomes the lighter dumbbell-based version, or you could even do like some kind of like push-up variation or something like that, right? And then same with the horizontal pulls and the decline pulls, except I wouldn't really change the entire, I would do the same thing. Like I would just change the implement, right? So move from like a barbell, move from a barbell to dumbbells essentially is the easiest way to do that, right? But I might not necessarily change the rep range for those. And then the extensions, same kind of thing. So if you're doing like a lying tricep extension, you could change to an overhead extension. So that's Monday. Moving on to Tuesday, Taco Tuesday. We have the squat as the primary movement. Same thing as before, in the heavier rep range. You can do it lighter if you want to. This is the only squat during the week in this program. So like whatever rep range kind of works best for you, you can do. As far as your muscle retention goes. After that, we're doing some abs. I like that because I like to unload the spine a little bit, get some spinal decompression after the spinal compression. And this ab movement can be like, I like hanging leg raises for that. You can also do like candlesticks, I'm a fan of. If you have the equipment, you can do some kind of sit-up, some kind of variation like that. Just don't do like a plank, because that's basically the same thing that you're doing in your compound movements. After that, we got some lateral raises for the side delts, because we're trying to hold on to those. We got some calf work, and then we got some forearm work. And the movements for those, as far as lateral raises go, you can use dumbbells, you can use cables if you have them, you can use a band if you're feeling crazy. That's kind of harder to progress, but it can be done. And then and if you have a machine, you could do like the lateral raise machine. As far as calves go, same kind of thing. Machine is probably the easiest to do. If you don't have a machine, you can use my cheeky little setup that I stole from Robert Santana, which is you stand on some plates and then you like set up the SSB in the squat rack, and it's a whole thing, but that works. And then you can also do, if you don't have machines, you could do like a seated calf raise with an easy bar. So you just place the easy bar across your lap and it actually sits right across your thighs, and then you can do a seated calf raise that way. And then for forearms, the movement patterns that I like are, there's basically wrist curls, which is like this and that, and there's finger curls, which is like grip work, so you're like just closing your fist like that. So you can combine them both. I stole this from Natural Hypertrophy. He has a great video on forearm training, and one of them he does like a barbell curl, where I like pretend I'm just letting my arm hang down, but I'm sitting right now obviously, but so if this is like my forearm, then it's a finger curl with a wrist curl. So at the bottom, you're gonna extend and open up the hand, and at the top, you're gonna flex and then close the hand, and you get a really sick, like pump in the forearm when you're doing that. So that kind of hits all the angles if you're just doing one forearm movement. So I like that one. And then as far as Thursday goes, we've got a vertical press and a vertical pull. My go-tos are obviously strict press and chins. I also like behind the neck press a lot. I've been using that lately. And then we have a decline press, which would be like dips, or if you want a lighter one, you can do like a decline dumbbell press. I don't recommend decline barbell pressing because it's just kind of sketchy. And then dips are just more fun and cooler and better. And then as far as incline pulling for the next movement, I enjoy the ghetto pull down, that's my favorite, but you can also do like an inverted row. It's just kind of harder to load and progress. You could even do like a rack chin, that's kind of an incline pull. Dante Trudell is a big guy with those. And then for the last movement, it's gonna be some kind of curl, right? So something for your elbows, elbow flexion, that's what we want there. If you're just doing one per week, I'll say this about the curls and the triceps. If you're just doing it one day, then just pick your favorite. If you're doing curls twice a week, what you can do, and you can do this with most muscle groups, is you can focus on the squeeze one of the days, so like an easy bar or a barbell curl, something really heavy with a big squeeze, and then the other day you can do a stretch-based movement, so something like a preacher curl or like a incline curl, right, with a dumbbell. And then as far as the triceps go, you can do something for the long head, like a lying triceps extension or a French press. And then the other day you could do like a push down variant, or you can even do 2 long head variants if you want. That's kind of what I do. I prefer to just do that because you get plenty of the other heads of the tricep with your horizontal pressing and incline pressing as well, and dips too. So basically like all of it. And then on Friday, we have the deadlift day. So you can do a deadlift or a good morning. After that, I really like pullovers, but this is kind of like a miscellaneous slot, so you can kind of throw whatever you want in there. I like the pullover because it trains the serratus and the intercostal muscles as well. And then you get a little bit more lat work, a little bit more chest work, a little bit more long head work, so it's just good for overall strength. And then after that, the hamstrings, something with knee flexion. So in the starting strength gym that I'm in, we don't have machines, so I use a band for that. And it's just, you have to get more creative with progressing it, but you can still do it. And then if you have the machines, those are better. So like some kind of leg curl, anything with knee flexion in that regard. And then after that, I might throw in some neck training, a little bit of flexion extension. I was having some exertion headaches and I started training neck extensions, and they actually worked pretty great to get rid of that. So I'm keeping them in the program for now. But yeah, that's basically the whole program. Some of the FAQs that I can already sense and that I actually get a lot from programs that I write for my clients. Number one is like, how many sets and reps should I do? And it kind of depends. I'll take a page out of Nick Delgadillo's book here and tell you the 2 answers to any of these questions are going to be it depends and it doesn't matter. So as far as the sets and reps, start with as little as possible. That's my general go-to. So with any of these, I usually start with 2 sets, and then the rep range is just whatever I think is going to work best for that movement. So like for the horizontal press, the bench, or the variation, I'll probably do like 5 to 10, like I said. If I'm training forearms, I might do as many as like 15 to 25, right? I might do a ton of reps. And that's mostly just based on how small the muscle is and how much loading the joint can handle. So I wouldn't want to do like sets of 5 wrist curls because my wrists are going to feel terrible if I do that. Whereas, a compound movement, the joints can probably handle that and feel fine. But yeah, so you just kind of have to experiment, see what works for you. If what you're doing is too little, then add more. You don't want to start off doing too much because then it's a lot tougher to dial back and kind of pinpoint what's actually going wrong. But if you're just doing the bare minimum, then you know that for sure what you're doing is too little. If you start to stall, then you can add more. Question number 2, why no heavy compounds / what if I want to maintain strength, right? So this goes back to the goals, right? You're not going to be able to maintain your strength and do heavy compound lifts and maintain your muscle and lose fat all at the same time. So that would be a whole different program. You have to just totally redesign the program with that in mind. Not completely, but all you'd have to do is just, for the main lifts, focus on each of the parent versions of the movement, and then you'd probably have to do them more than once per week, and then probably remove a bunch of the assistance movements so you have more recovery for those, depending on how you recover, right? Then the last question is, can I train X muscle / movement 2 to 3 times per week or 4 times per week or whatever? So I kind of touched on this during the program, and like, yeah, you can do, you can train your neck 4 times a week probably. You can train like forearms 3 or 4 times a week, biceps 3 to 4 times a week, right? So you can train them more often. My recommendation for that, like I already kind of said, is just have different functions, different movement patterns within that, right? So like if you're going to train the triceps, you can have like 1 push down, 1 overhead extension, and 1 lying extension, for example. And then within those, like I was saying, when they get stale, you can swap for a different implement. So like if you're doing the lying triceps extension with, well, I'm sitting right now, so like overhead extension with an easy bar right here, right? Once that gets stale, I can switch to a dumbbell, and then I can do that for a little bit. You can even use cables if you have those. So that just gives you like infinite possibilities with these movement patterns, and that's how you keep these movement patterns in any program essentially, and just keep them fresh over time. But yeah, that's really it for this program. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have questions about a specific program, ask them in the comments. I'll do my best to give you a good answer on those. But yeah, leave a like if you enjoyed the video, say something down there, and then subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're almost at 50 subscribers, which is pretty dope. And yeah, I think that's it for today. All right, goodbye.